August the 10th, 2025. Guys, hope everyone's having a safe weekend. It is a pretty nice morning this morning, 78 degrees at 9:19 a.m. Central. Heat index is only 80, so anytime we get those temperatures, even in the morning this time of the year, it's very nice. Looks like the southeast is going to be setting up for some rain for the next few days, and we're getting to where we kind of need it. It's been dry for a few days. What you're looking at is the National Hurricane Center's information that came out at 9:37 a.m. Eastern, so it's not quite an hour old, about 40 minutes or so. But this storm is the one they've been watching. I think, again, AI or somebody's trying to get ahead of the game and projecting some of these storms, and you really never see much happen with them. This one is expected. It's here, but it's not expected to form until it gets up here in the cooler water. 20% chance. Really, they need to go back to the old prediction styles that they used. Visual, hurricane hunters, satellite images. Let the AI stuff go and let people do the real work. Okay, and I think AI is just really, if you think about it, guys, it's an excuse, regardless of what you use it for AI text, AI anything, it's an excuse for being lazy. Not doing it yourself, not using the critical thinking part of your brain, and that's when you lose it. When you don't use it, you lose it, and critical thinking is being destroyed by AI. Possibly the main plan, along with using up the electricity of most of the planet. Right now, AI, guys, these data centers are using about 8.9% of the world's electricity. Now, think about any other industry alone that does that percentage. There's not that many, but we do have a problem, and that's the storm we're watching. 80% chance now development coming off the coast of Africa, setting basically over the Cabo Verde Islands. They're saying this recently received satellite-derived wind data indicate that a well-defined low-pressure system has formed about midway between the west coast of Africa and the Cabo Verde Islands, with maximum winds of about 35 miles an hour. Although the associated shower and thunderstorm activity still lacks some organization, only a small increase in the organization will lead to the formation of a tropical depression before the low moves near or across the Cabo Verde Islands. Guys, it's right there, so that means this thing is developing very quickly. And you will be able to tell visually with the satellite images in just a moment. It says, regardless of development, locally heavy rainfall and gusty winds are possible today and Monday across the Cabo Verde Islands, and interest there should monitor the progress of this system. Even if a tropical depression does not form over the next day or so, environmental conditions appear conducive for later development, and a tropical depression is likely to form by the middle to latter portion of this week while moving northwestward at 15 to 20 miles an hour across the eastern and central tropical Atlantic. Now, I've been talking about my concern over the delay in the hurricane season starting properly in the Atlantic is the heat buildup would cause a lot of very strong storms. And I think that's what we're seeing right here coming off the coast of Africa. It's probably hard to see, but this is the Cabo Verde Islands. I have my cursor centered on it right there. So actually the outer sections of the storm are already there, and they're saying that it could, again, escalate very quickly here. Florida, you're still covered up in some rain, but as far as along your west coast, what I'm noticing, and we're going to look at it closer, is a lot of this moisture and the pressure, even the wind, the currents are being pushed up into the Gulf of America and starting to be felt along the edge of the Gulf states here. Check that out. Also, some pretty good storms forming, guys, up into Wisconsin and northern Indiana right there. You see that? Now, this is the storms that we've kind of been watching, that they've been watching, thinking it might pop up or whatever, but really they're getting themselves ahead of the curve. And when they do that, they create exactly what we're seeing now. It's called the boy who cried wolf syndrome. In other words, you get a lot of things popping up out there, nothing really happens. then a big one comes in and no one's paying close enough attention to it. But that's what this channel does. We're going to make sure you're aware of that. It won't be long before they start giving us some computer data, and then we won't have to use the spaghetti lines that are starting to come out now. We can actually look at it, and usually when you take that data, you're within 100 miles or so of what they're saying with the computer as far as the lines, and even when it gets close to shore, the point of impact. Now, looking down at Africa, you can see it here. Here's the storm. Here's the Cabo Verde Islands. Now, you're getting distortion here, guys, because of the curvature of the Earth. You know, the camera's not going to wrap around everything. It would take an African satellite for that to be clear. And actually, they have them, but what we're dealing with is this storm and then this one coming behind it. The reason this one is concerning to me is because what you're going to see when we switch satellite images is a lot of this down pressure here has that Saharan dust layer in it, which is an absorption factor for the moisture needed to create these storms. So this one's going to absorb some, this one's going to come off possibly in a clear path. Switching from infrared, you can see why they're talking about this forming somewhere near the Cabo Verde Islands, guys. We're already starting to see some counterclockwise rotation trying to form right in this area there. So now that it's sunlight, heat is on top of everything, watch for this thing to develop. Now, of course, it's going to get dark in Africa much sooner than it does along the Atlantic coast, but there's plenty of heat in the ocean. These things are going to cycle, downgrade, and continuously recycle as it moves across the Atlantic. Now, close up of the southeast, guys, you've got a lot of moisture out along the Atlantic coast here, as far as Georgia and the Carolinas, off the west coast of Florida here. And notice all this movement. You've got pressure moving down, you've got it moving from the west, and you got it pushing north inside the Gulf of America. Along the shores, all the way from central Texas to Florida, we're starting to see the heat build up and moisture being pushed ashore. We'll switch this over to the infrared. But again, these are some pretty good storms that are starting to pop up this morning. More than likely, that's why they're talking about increased chances of rain. We also have the storm to the northwest right there. Now, in infrared, again, you can see these storms popping up here. Many of us need it, guys. It's been a little dry. It'll rain a few days and then dry a few days. One thing we have not had a problem with is grass. You can mow your lawn around here, and the next day it looks like you haven't. But that's better than the last few years when it was parched and looked like half desert. But again, we're getting this moisture build up here along the Florida coast. And this motion coming in from here is just an indicator, guys, that we are getting into that time of the year. Now let's look at the southwest for just a moment. I've got it paused. This is an infrared. As we sweep through, you'll see the sunrise. Right now, these black spots, here's one in California. This is what Newsom and Bass need to worry about instead of hiding the dims from Texas, is these fires, but they don't care about that. It's probably another land grab. You've got some areas popping up here in Arizona. It's not as intense along the northern rim of the Grand Canyon. We're seeing almost nothing now. And then if you go up into Colorado, you're seeing a spot here. But let's play this through. You see the sweep going into natural. And right here, I noticed that last night before sunset, this fire was putting a lot of smoke into the valley. And then you got the one here, more in central Arizona than what we were looking at up in the Grand Canyon. Then you've got one right there. See that in Colorado? You can see the smoke. Now, there's a lot of smoke coming out of Canada right now. And you can see that the smoke is being pushed down here, coming out of you got Saskatchewan, Alberta, Saskatchewan, British Columbia here, Manitoba there, I think it is, pushing down through this area, and you can see it being caught up off the Atlantic northeast section here, and again being pushed over to the UK, guys. Check that out. Watch this area for storms. The cooler area does slow down that tornado activity, but it looks like there's some pretty powerful systems trying to form now, possibly because of the change of the temperatures. Now, you don't have that much moisture in the southwest right now to help with these fires, but I hope the governors and people like that will get on top of it. I hope that the National Forest Service and their firefighting efforts are not in control of by the states, because you go from a good source to a really negative boss in that case, and they'd just soon burn it down before they lose it. And there's some very interesting things going on, guys, not with the weather, but politically. I've thought about putting up a video of Beto, the Cheeto out of Texas. He's really throwing a fit, throwing some curse words out in this video he put up yesterday. But he's talking about they're going to fight fire with fire, and they're going to redistrict everybody to death in Texas. But guys, what he didn't realize, that he's not very bright. It's why we call them dims, or dim, like dim lights. But is that they've already redistricted everything in Texas as they can, gerrymandering it to death. Same way in Illinois, same way in California. They're threatening to retaliate, and it's so funny. They've already done as much damage as they can do, gerrymandering. And now, because the Republicans are taking it back, they're throwing a fit, running and hiding. I'm looking for updates sometimes this afternoon. I'm not sure if it'll be then or in the morning when they have another Texas Senate meeting of arrest. I'm waiting for those type of reports, or at least something to let us know they're serious about it. But I think that with the new sheriffs in town, the governor's realizing that they have the federal government behind them now, we're going to see a takedown. The Democrats are in panic, and they're running, and let's keep it that way. Use every means you have. I'm not talking about violence of any sort, but information spreading, pointing out where these creeps and what they're doing and where they're doing it, things like that. Making sure everyone knows, push it, share the information here. But if I get time, I may do a little editing on that Beto O'Rourke thing and put it up. Also, there's another one coming out of Houston, Texas, of a group, it looks like they're being led by Chinese students, talking about attacks and ways to divert ICE in the Houston area. So that's something that I'm sure Holman is aware of. ICE is aware of by now, since it's up. It's I think it's on X possibly. It's kind of like, it's not a Project Veritas video, but it's one like that, kind of an undercover deal. Someone got in there and got to them, and they started running their mouth. It's pitiful how stupid these people are, guys. Now back to the subject. I'm sorry about that, but they're definitely on the back of my mind. They're getting free rent, but I have a purpose for keeping them in my mind, because, again, we're going to point out everything they're doing, make sure everybody sees it. Now, what you got here, they're calling the storm coming off of Africa, Invest 97L. Navy model is right here in purple. Canadian model ends right here. It's the further south, it and the Navy model. That's indicating, again, we saw it in the video late yesterday afternoon, high pressure setting up in the Atlantic. And this was at 10 a.m. Eastern time, so it's about 40 minutes old. You've got nothing's turning up yet. And it may not. We're going to look at about 4 models this morning. You want to look at it, it's smoky in there fussing. Now, we'll start with that Navy model, one of the most reliable. And they're definitely indicating strength. Notice the color bars at the bottom. That indicates the lowering of pressure. You get the blues and then purples. Very low pressure. The lower the pressure, the stronger the storm. And there it is, coming off Cabo Verde here. Strengthening, going to blue, then into purple. That goes out to the 17th of August. 7 days out, guys, from today. Right there. See it? Possible second storm coming off right there. Watch this. Now let's go to the Canadian model. Now, this one goes out to the 20th. It's 3 days longer, most all the time, than the Navy model, guys. You can see it right there. Very deep colors into the low pressure section. See that? And it's stopping on the 20th. We don't know where it will go from there, because we're still going, we're a week or so out, and we don't know exactly how the high pressure is going to react. You start to see it opening up here, right? So the East Coast, you guys have got to stay on top of this storm. It definitely looks like an East Coast approach at least, and very close, too close to ignore at this point. Right there up to the 20th. Now GFS, the global forecast system, it goes out a little further in time, but here comes the first of the storms. Second one's trying to form back here, but look how large, powerful, and dark it gets. Now it shows a definite opening into the high pressure area off the Atlantic coast. And that is perfect because it would allow the cooling that we need along the Gulf Stream itself through here that's causing a lot of heat and storms without doing major damage to the coast. You're going to have high winds, rip currents, rain, things like that, even at this distance. But again, that's going very far out in time. Right there, coming up, moving all the way up the East Coast and actually looping back to the left. See that? Right there, and getting absorbed up into one of these vortices coming off the Arctic. Right there. Now, one other model let's look at today. Now, this is a very fast-moving model. It's the European model, and it's showing the same thing, and that is that this storm is going to turn and go north before it gets to the Atlantic coast. Again, we're going to watch it all the way through, but that is exactly what needs to happen without causing a lot of havoc and problems ashore, guys. But we're watching it. You watch it and watch for updates this afternoon. It's a heads up. Be safe.